Hi, this is Magda from Interiors Exteriors. Today I have the pleasure of inviting you to an apartment in a 1950s apartment building with 3 rooms and a separate kitchen, which was renovated in 2022. What was its budget? We'll talk about that in a moment, but for now, I'll show you how it turned out.
Hi, my name is Magda. I live here with my husband Sławek and our 5-year-old son Timek. We moved a lot until we ended up here in Nowy Dwór Mazowiecki, where we set up our very first apartment of our own.
We're starting as usual at the entrance, and right here we have a large wardrobe with sliding mirrored doors. It was already here before the renovation. It was just taken apart, cleaned and repainted so that its style would match the new interior. Why replace a piece of furniture that's practical and works when you can just adjust it a little bit? Here inside we have space for shorter jackets and shoes, as well as shelves at the top. In the middle section there's space for long coats and a vacuum cleaner, and at the end there's room for a drying rack and an ironing board. I once showed you how to use cinema seats in the hallway. When we're not using them and they're folded, they take up a bit less space and don't block the passage. However, in really tight hallways, they still won't work because they simply take up a certain amount of space themselves. And then we can go for a solution that's much smaller, but still lets us sit comfortably. We often store small items in drawers, so when a drawer is large, there's a need to use organizers so that everything has its place and things don't get messy. It's different when it comes to these small drawers. Here, one drawer is simply for one category of items. For example, here we have schedules, below that things for shoe care, and here shopping bags. This apartment has windows on 2 sides. The kitchen and the children's room face south, while the living room and bedroom are on the north side, so these rooms have noticeably less light. Pay attention to this when choosing an apartment for yourself, because the amount of sunlight strongly affects our mood, the way we function, and even how we perceive the interior. This is especially important when the windows face only one direction, because we don't have the option to go to another room where it might be different. So be sure to keep that in mind. In this apartment, old things are mixed with new ones, and it's not just about the big furniture, but also about the accessories. Look, here are 2 radios and an old phone that was rescued from my parents' basement before it was thrown away. Such furniture with deep shelves works great for bedding, tablecloths, or curtains, and in my opinion, they're also perfect for board games. Pay special attention to this table. It has richly decorated legs, and even though the tabletop is made entirely of wood, it's not uniform. There's a beautiful pattern here. What's more, it's an extendable table. The additional tabletop is hidden underneath here, and the table can be twice as long. It's worth appreciating such excellent craftsmanship.
For several years we lived in the Czech Republic, then in the United Kingdom, and it was actually from England that our love for old furniture came, like this old display cabinet that we use for glassware and wine glasses. I bought it for about 200 zlotys. Besides the old furniture we brought with us, we also have a few pieces that we bought here in Poland, and that's when we became more interested in furniture restoration and refinishing. And my husband and I are very proud of restoring the dining table together, as well as the small table in our son's room.
You're probably wondering about the apartment renovation cost. The total amount for everything is about 143,500, and in this amount, the costs related to the bathroom are 47,500, the kitchen is 46,000, and the furniture in the rooms, the ones that were bought here in Poland, not brought from abroad, are 18,500. It's worth paying attention to the price of the floor. The engineered oak flooring cost just under 17,000, while additional materials like glue, oil, and so on cost about 2,000 zlotys. The owner of this apartment specializes in floors, so he wanted to install it himself, but this isn't a solution I would recommend if you're looking to save money. Because while it's true that very often, by doing various things yourself during a renovation, you can save a lot, since labor is simply expensive. But when it comes to doors or floors, that's not necessarily the case. Why? Because of VAT. The VAT on renovation and construction work, which includes installation services, is 8%. So when we order doors along with installation, the entire service, including the doors, has 8% VAT. So if we decide to buy just the doors with 23% VAT without the installation service, it may turn out that we pay exactly the same amount as when we order them with installation. Why? Because in the price we pay, there isn't as much VAT, but less. And this difference can stay with the business owner and cover their installation costs. Just as we can save a lot by doing many jobs ourselves, when it comes to flooring or doors, it might not actually save us money. The kitchen cabinetry is in a beautiful color. Notice that it's not a dark green, but rather a lighter, less popular shade these days. However, the kitchen is not only beautiful, but also functional. There's a lot of countertop space here. Fortunately, the windows are at such a height that the windowsill could also become an extension of the countertop. On the other end, the countertop has been cut at an angle. When you leave the kitchen, you won't bump your hip on the corner. Here we have the refrigerator, the freezer, and further on, very wide drawers. Cutlery on top, dishes below. Look at what a beautiful collection of plates there is. Both plates from Bolesławiec and from Spain, also hand-painted. Really beautiful. Next we have a kidney-shaped corner cabinet, great for storing pans or pots. And on the front there are special holders for lids. That way each one has its own place. Further ahead there's an oven with a microwave function. Underneath it there's a drawer, a dishwasher, more drawers, and here a corner cabinet, but it's a regular one without any special system because there are pipes here and a meter that needs to be accessible. And further on we have a space left without a cabinet, so you can sit down. The upper cabinets have been organized according to the functions of each part of the kitchen. Here we have a coffee station, so there are cups right above. On the other side we have a kettle and a tea station, so here we have mugs right away and teas are right above the kettle. Here, on the other hand, we have the stove, so in the cabinet we keep cooking ingredients. The induction cooktop has a feature that I really appreciate, which is slider controls for adjusting the heat. Thanks to this, when I turn on the cooktop, I can immediately click in the middle and I have it set to 9. Here, there is actually an 18-level adjustment, so 9 is in the middle, and here I can set it to 4 and here to 14. With one click, I immediately set a high temperature and I don't have to keep clicking through. Brilliant. The character of the bedroom is greatly influenced by the wallpaper and the combination of old and new furniture. See for yourself. New, old, old, new, old, new. Old and new. Old furniture is usually beautiful and well made, but often not as functional as new ones. An old wardrobe will never let us use the space as efficiently as a custom-made one. See for yourselves. It will also be rather hard to find an old bed where we can store as much and as conveniently as in a new bed with a storage compartment. The desk with an adjustable top was customized not only to make it comfortable to work at, but also to fit perfectly between the windowsill and the radiator. All the interior doors in this apartment were left by the previous owners. Originally they had a darker color like the frames you see here, but they were cleaned, sanded, and now they look completely different. That's a huge advantage of wooden doors. You can treat them like that. When decorating a small child's room, we often want to create a bit of a fairy tale atmosphere, and sometimes we use unusual furniture for this purpose, such as a bed shaped like a car. And I think a much better method is to use wallpaper, which covers a huge area on the entire wall. It really creates an atmosphere, and at the same time, it's easier to replace when the child grows up and wants something different. My son's room is almost 13 square meters, so besides the typical furnishings, there's also space for a little gym corner. There's a ladder attached to the wall. The wall is protected with cork, so it doesn't get dirty easily, and in case of an impact, there's also a bit of cushioning. Right now we have a swing hanging here, but it can be swapped out for a slide, which is currently hidden behind the wardrobe. Thanks to the fact that you can change the accessories, the child regularly feels like there's something new and doesn't get bored so easily. In the bathroom, the blue tiles arranged in a herringbone pattern play an important visual role. Sometimes questions appear on forums about where to buy tiles that can be arranged in a herringbone pattern, so I'd like to emphasize that these are simply rectangular tiles, and often this kind of arrangement isn't shown at all on the product page. It's just a matter of what layout we come up with. And of course, the tiler might not be thrilled, because with a herringbone pattern, there's much more work. Cutting involved than when laying them at a right angle. Before the renovation, these were two separate rooms. The bathroom was separate and the toilet was separate. Now, thanks to combining them, it's much more spacious and there's also more storage space. Here behind the washing machine, we have one cabinet. Up here, there's another one for cleaning supplies. Here are towels and larger items, like a hairdryer, for example. Here under the sink, we have a drawer with 3 laundry baskets, so we can sort clothes by color right away. And up here, behind the mirror, there's also a cabinet for items you use every day. The owners definitely prefer taking showers, so even though they chose a bathtub because of their son's preferences, they didn't install a bathtub spout. Thanks to this, there's no problem with bumping your leg on it, and after all, you can easily use the handheld shower head to take a bath in the tub. Finally, I would like to warmly invite you to our store at wnętrzazewwnętrza.pl, where you can find, among other things, the house-themed jewelry I'm wearing. I also encourage you to subscribe to the channel. We've already recorded several hundred interior design videos, so there's really a ton of inspiration. I'm looking forward to your likes, comments, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!